So if you haven't seen Paul on LinkedIn recently, he's been popping up all over my feed because I got to interview him a couple of weeks ago in a quiet room in Hoxton. He's a great character, got a lot of wisdom, very wise man. He's the VP of International at Demandbase. Demandbase are one of our top partners. And he's going to be talking about cut waste, not resources, to hit revenue goals. He's the VP of International of Demandbase. He's been there for over the last 8 years. He's known as a startup builder, a sales leader, usually the first person on the ground. And he's done this a number of times in a number of tech companies over the years. I don't know who added this bit because it says he's funny, motivational, and a great leader to listen to. You did write your own bio. So, Paul, can we have a round of applause for our final speaker, please?
Thank you very much.
Hold on. Yeah, that's you.
A picture of my son on there for some reason. This is going to be a bit quick, so hold on to your hats. I did this presentation a couple of weeks ago in the US, and it took an hour and a half. I'm not going to, obviously, talk that quickly, but we go fairly quickly. So, cut waste, not resources. We had some really good conversations just a minute ago about, keeping those quality people, but I'm sure I'm not alone in seeing some changes going on. Last year was a tough year for a lot of organisations, and I think this is important for this crowd. I know we're pretty much all sales leaders. Some of the things I'm going to be talking about are marketing related, but really it's business related. What have we been hearing that's made us put this cut waste, not resources together? Again, I don't want to show of hands, but I'm sure you're all hearing similar things. Last year particularly was a tough year, right? Close rates were getting hammered quite a bit. The time it was taking to close was taking longer. We've all seen CFOs getting involved in deals that they never did before. and maybe some of the deals we were closing weren't the right ones, so therefore churn rates were increasing. And sales and marketing alignment, which everyone talks about as a critical thing, started to get hammered a little bit. People were blaming each other. And I think the overall upshot was that revenue numbers were being missed, and some of the metrics that were being reported on weren't enough to prove the value that you had to the business. And therefore, we saw a lot of businesses panic, and they look for how can we cut costs as our way of surviving as a business. Cutting marketing budgets, not rocket science, we've all heard that one, right? But cutting sales and marketing headcount, that's something that we saw quite a lot. But then the really frustrating thing for ourselves to see was that the things that weren't working, they just continued doing, and maybe doing more of it, right? We demand more leads. We don't care if they're good leads or not, we just want more. So actually what we were seeing was, I think we all know this, right? If you keep doing the things you always did, you'll get the results you always got. So we thought about this, and we've come up with this concept of cut waste, not resources, to hit your revenue numbers. We think it's a simplistic message, but hopefully it's one that will resonate for people in the audience. So where do we start? Taking waste out of intent. Well, that sounds a really simple thing. And the white screen of death. That's no, it's fine. It's fine. I meant to do it. It's a joke. I put this up deliberately because you've probably all seen over social media. Over social media. Can I get another minute now? Over social media, we've seen lots of people knocking intent. Right? Intent's useless. It doesn't help our sales teams, etc. If you try and plan strategy on who you're going to sell to and how you're going to sell to them, and you don't have any intent at all, that's what you're using as your strategy, right? It's cross fingers and guesswork. So you do need intent. I understand some of the issues around it. It's got to be relevant intent. It's got to be accurate. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense. Simple example. We sell smart tech devices, let's say, and we want to identify all of our ICP accounts that right now are exploring Apple computers, Apple technology, because we can sell against that, right? Brilliant. Let's get some insight that says that company that you're really interested in right now is focusing on Apple devices. We'll go after that. Give that to your sales team. That's hugely exciting. They can do something with it. Marketing know how to message to that organization. However, a lot of intent providers out there would look at Apple and go, oh, brilliant, Apple, that's something I can give to them. And it may well be that one of those people is out there exploring the new or the best apple pie recipe. There's no point giving that to a salesperson, right? It's got to be relevant intent. So don't think we don't need intent. Make sure that intent is relevant. It's got to be accurate, and it's got to be transparent. You've got to be able to sit there and say, I understand why that's an intent buying signal. I can see how I should utilize that. If otherwise it's just full of noise, and if someone says, go after that company because we say so, your sales team are very quickly going to get turned off from that sort of stuff. But it goes beyond just having intent. That's a good starter. I know that company's in market, but if you don't know if they're engaging with you, coming to your website, speaking to sales, do they even know you as a business? You're going to be guessing at what your strategy needs to be. So I suppose the message here is don't turn off things like intent and engagement, but make sure it's relevant, transparent, and your team can actually utilize it. Take waste out of advertising. Again, this isn't a team of marketers. You're advertising. Why is that important? Hands up anyone in this room whose business sells shoes and boots. Pretty sure none of you do, but I'm going to say pretty sure most of your marketers advertise as if they do. What do I mean by that? Let's say I identify Mark. He's out there looking for a pair of shoes. I'm going to advertise to you, Mark, because I want to sell you shoes. Pretty much everyone else in this room here could also buy shoes. So guess what? I'm going to advertise to all of you. Makes perfect sense, right? That's what your marketers are doing in the B2B world, which doesn't make sense. So let's say I sell to financial institutions, banks, investment companies. What's the benefit of me advertising to French Connection? There isn't any. But in this world that we're living in today, we're advertising to them. That's a waste, but it gets worse than that. What if someone clicks from French Connection, clicks on that ad? We all get excited because we've got to click on our advertising campaign. Irrelevant to us as a business. What a waste. You might drive them to our website. Great, we got an increase in website traffic from a company you can never sell to. What a waste of time that is. Even worse, that might end up going into pipeline. That's no good for sales, right? French Connection, I might be excited because it's a new logo, but I can't actually sell to it because we don't sell into that space. If you're not sure whether your marketers are advertising like that, ask them how they report their results. If it's an anonymous click-through rate or anonymous increase in website traffic, that's what they're doing. As sales leaders, we need to stop that going on in our businesses because it doesn't work in the B2B world. Take waste out of selling. Well, the whole point of those first two was if we're giving irrelevant clicks, irrelevant intent signals, if we're putting the wrong companies into our pipeline, sales are going to go chasing after it. By the way, that's wild goose chase. I couldn't find a goose on the internet anywhere. I got ridiculed for putting a swan up there. You get the message, right? Don't send your salespeople on wild goose chases. It really won't work. Get it right. What we want to move away from, and I'm sure you might deny it, but you've all experienced going into sales and marketing meetings and marketing say, we gave you 100 leads last month. You closed none of it. You sales team are useless. Sales go, well, everything you gave us was rubbish. We need to move away from that. If we can get sales and marketing aligned on the right companies, the ones that really are in market, give them to sales. They're aligned with each other and they love each other. I'm deliberately not looking at James now because I think we're nearly done. Reducing churn risk is a major thing for all businesses. If you're like us as a business, if we have a client that doesn't renew at the end of the first year, we lose money. It's really important. That only works if you're going after the right accounts. If we use that French Connection analogy there, I am nearly finished, by the way. That French Connection analogy there, if I'm a fantastic salesperson, I might be able to fit that square peg in that round hole and close that deal. Great, new logo, a little bit of revenue, nearer my target. What you're actually handing the business is something that your post-sales team can never turn into value. They'll never make any money out of that account because they won't be happy and they'll churn at the end of the year. So all of this stuff is really saying, if you're going to take the time and effort to build out a strategy of who we're going to target, the companies to go after, they're the only ones that you should go after, no one else. So, key takeaways. Ensure that everything marketing is doing aligns with your sales teams. You're going after the right accounts. You're going after them with the right messaging. Otherwise, you're going to end up with a sales team that aren't very happy. Stop chasing companies that you can't sell to. It doesn't make sense. You're going to waste the time of the salespeople. And of course, they're going to fail if they've got a pipeline full of opportunities they can't close. Avoid false positives. If someone's looking at an apple pie recipe, that isn't someone you're chasing if you're trying to sell against Apple technology. Give your sales team the opportunities to close. I'm sure we all agree we've got fantastic sales teams. Let's make sure the opportunities we give them in pipeline are the right ones. And if we hit those key metrics, we're hitting our close rates, our average order values, our time to close is reducing. If we're reducing those churn rates, we suddenly become very valuable to our businesses. We're seen as a profit center, not a cost center. and therefore we're much likely to be secure when they look at the next round of cuts. That was pretty fast, but I hope that was of interest. I don't know how long that took, but